Hi, and welcome to Social Media 101, Policies, Guidelines, and Accessibility. My name is Stephanie Ramirez, and I am the Associate Director of Social and New Media in the Office of Communications. I manage the college's central social media channels and oversee the college-wide social media strategies and policies.
And hi, my name is Ben Clark-Eden, and I'm a junior psychology and film and media studies double major. I've worked with Stephanie as a social media intern in the Office of Communications for the last year and a half.
As you might guess from the title, this presentation will be an introduction into the college's social media policies and guidelines with a particular focus on accessibility. So we'll walk you through what you need to know on the surface about managing an account on behalf of a college department. And then we'll walk you through social media accessibility and what you need to do to manage an accessible social media account on behalf of the college. Before we dive in, all of the information we'll share with you today can be found on the Office of Communications website at amherst.edu/go/social. This is really the hub of all things social for Amherst. Here you'll find a social media request form where you can reach out to us, the social media policies and guidelines, our community guidelines, the social media directory, and even a hashtag directory. So you've heard me say social media policies and guidelines a few times. I want to clarify what I mean by that. The social media policy, which is intended to help staff, faculty, and students who want to create and manage social presences on behalf of their academic and administrative departments. Those are the expectations for all social media accounts associated with the college. These are the components that account managers are expected to comply with. The second part, which we'll talk about in the next slide, are the guidelines. These are best practices we recommend to help you better engage with your community, increase the value of your channel, and best represent the college. So let's talk about the policy itself. I won't go into incredible detail, but I do want to highlight what it includes. First, you'll find information around launching new accounts. If you're watching this presentation, you've likely already done this, but all account managers or soon-to-be account managers are expected to reach out to us in the Office of Communications before creating a new social media account.
The second item is information around assigning responsibility for accounts. All college accounts must be overseen by a staff or faculty member. While students may create content for the accounts, which we highly encourage, staff members are ultimately responsible for the content and must have an oversight over what is published. For example, staff members should review any student content before it's published. As an example, I'm one of the 6 to 8 students working with Stephanie throughout the school year. We create a lot of content for the college accounts, but Stephanie reviews everything we produce before it's ever published to the college accounts. If you need any guidance around creating a similar workflow, feel free to reach out to us. The third item on the policy is information for student groups, particularly language that student groups should include on their accounts to indicate that they're student-run.
The fourth are items, practices around accessibility, which we'll discuss in more detail later in this presentation. This is a newer addition to our policy, but it's worth noting that it is in fact a part of the policy. So that means all college accounts are expected to be accessible. It may go without saying, but Amherst believes strongly in diversity, equity, and inclusion, and we apply those values to the work produced on our social media platforms. Accessibility is therefore a part of that work, and an important one, I would add. Lastly, the policy also includes information around personal use as a staff or faculty member. If you indicate on a personal social media channel that you're an Amherst staff or faculty member, know that visitors may perceive that you are speaking on behalf of your department and the college. It's important to note, therefore, that your views are yours alone and do not necessarily reflect the college's views. Now, jumping to guidelines. I mentioned this earlier, but like I said, these are best practices and recommendations we recommend for you to better engage with your community and increase the value of your channel. It's a long list of recommendations, so I won't list every single one here, but I highly encourage you to visit our website and take an opportunity to read through them in more depth. Instead, I'll just highlight a select few. First, new accounts and platforms. As the social policy states, there's an expectation for account managers to reach out to us before launching new accounts. But the guidelines also outline a list of questions to think through before considering a new account. For instance, what are your goals? Who's your audience? Do you have the resources needed to not just publish content, but monitor? How will you measure the account's success? Next, social media icons. We recommend anyone who manages a college social media account use an Amherst official icon, and our digital communications team can create those for you. If you're interested, please reach out to us. Third, the college's visual identity. To provide a consistent look and feel to your content, we recommend utilizing the college's visual identity, our official fonts, our colors, our word marks. As you create content such as posters and graphics, when materials look officially Amherst, it prompts a user to stop and read when they're scrolling quickly through social media because they can immediately identify something as coming from the college. Fourth, copyrighted material. Account managers should avoid use of any confidential or proprietary information, such as use of photos without permission, particularly of minors, and use of copyrighted material, such as music, trending audio, photos, videos, and more. Using this material without a license of permission exposes the college to financial liability. If you have questions about whether or not something is copyrighted, reach out to us. We're happy to help. Lastly, community monitoring. Social media are designed for two-way communication. It's important to monitor your accounts for comments and messages and respond and engage. This is really one of the key ways to engage the audience you hope to attract to your channels, but always remembering that you are communicating on behalf of the college.
So speaking of monitoring, while we welcome comments and messages across our platforms, Amherst also reserves the discretion to delete comments that don't conform to our visitor guidelines, such as personal attacks, harassment or intimidation, bigotry or discrimination, vulgar language, spam, and more. You can find a list of our community guidelines on our website. It's important to note here that the college believes in free speech. While we reserve this discretion to delete comments, we encourage account managers to not delete content simply because they disagree with the poster's point of view or because it may be critical of the college. So turning now to accessibility, we're going to outline some of the items that are in the policy. First, add alternate text to all images, including GIFs. Alt text is simply the description of an image that a screen reader uses to describe images aloud to blind and visually impaired users. Therefore, you should write alt text for every photo you post. Try to describe all of the important aspects of the image in as concise a way as possible. Consider the context of the image and the article it is in. If you know a person's name, use it, as well as any other nuanced details about the image that people should know. Like all forms of writing, alt text is a skill that develops over time. Here is one example of alt text that I wrote for a recent tweet. Nikki Russ Federman, 99, leans against the counter in Russ and Daughters, the bagel and lock shop she runs. She smiles widely, wearing a white apron. Behind her, a wide array of bagels and bread can be seen in containers on the wall. I knew the person's name, so I included it, and I also knew the name of the shop as it was relevant in the article. Then I simply just described what I could see as simply and concisely as I could. However, maybe this alt text is a little too long, and I could have shortened it in some places. But any alt text is good, and you will improve and understand the writing style the more you do it. There really is no perfect way to write alt text, and everyone does it differently. So now I'm going to walk you through how to add alt text to images on each platform. So firstly, on Twitter, when you go to create a tweet with an image, below the image, you will see this add description button. Click on that, and then you simply add the alt text to this description box below the image. On Facebook, it is a similar process. Once you have started a new post with an image, this edit button will appear to the top left of the image. Click on that and then find the alternative text tab on the left-hand side menu. And then you write your own alt text into the custom alt text box. Facebook is one of the only social media platforms that creates auto-generated alt text. And sometimes you may see Facebook's suggestion by this box. Because it doesn't know any context, the auto-generated text is usually not very good. So it's always best to write your own. On Instagram, it is a little tricky to find the alt text section. Once you've selected the photos you want to post and you are on the caption screen, scroll down to where it says Advanced Settings. Within Advanced Settings, there will be an accessibility section where you can select the right alt text button. Then it will take you to this screen on the right, where you can write alt text for all the photos in the post. However, we should also mention that you cannot write alt text for Instagram stories, as that feature does not exist yet. So on Instagram, you can only write alt text for feed posts. So that was alt text for images, and now we're going to turn to captioning for videos. Every video you produce for social media platforms and websites should be captioned for deaf and hearing impaired users. So this includes Instagram stories and reels and TikToks. There are two different kinds of captions. The one most people are familiar with is closed captions. Closed captioning is where text and subtitles can be toggled on and off because the video and captions are separate files. These are captions that you see on Netflix and YouTube, where the captions can be turned on and off as and when you want them. So the key thing to remember about closed captions is that they can be turned on and off because they're separate to the video file. Closed captions are often saved as SRT files. Open captions, otherwise known as burned-in captions, on the other hand, are captions that are burned into the video, so they cannot be turned off and always appear when the video is played. So the video is one single file that has the captions burned into them. One key point to mention here is that Instagram only allows you to use the burned-in open captions. So Instagram does not allow videos that have closed captions, but every other platform does. So if you want to post a video to Instagram in any form, via Reels, Story, or a standard post, then you have to burn the captions into the video as open captions.
Here's a look at two caption files we created in our office. The left is an example of closed captioning on YouTube. If you can see on the bottom, the captions can be toggled on or off. On the right, for an Instagram story featuring Jocelyn Nichols from the class of 2025, we created open captions. I created these manually by using Instagram's text feature in stories, but you could also do this by using other tools. There are a few tools available you can use to caption video files. The first option is YouTube, which is free. When you upload a video, YouTube generates automatic captions that you can edit, but these are only closed captioning. You cannot download YouTube's captions as a single video file, only as an SRT file. So this is a good option if you plan to share your video on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, but not for Instagram. The second option is Rev. However, Rev does require a budget, although a relatively small one. They charge about $1.50 per minute of video. So a short video for social media will be less than $10. Rev is able to create both closed captions and burned-in captions. If you're interested in using Rev, you can reach out to us in the Office of Communications and we'd be happy to help. A third option is Canva, another free option where you can add text to videos, therefore creating an open caption video. However, the process of doing that is not an intuitive process. So if you're planning on using Canva, we recommend watching a tutorial on YouTube and we'd be happy to point you to one. The final option is Instagram. Using Instagram's video editor, when you upload a reel or another video, you can add captions by adding text to the video.
So another thing to remember is that when using hashtags, make sure to put multi-word hashtags in camel case. So all that means is that you should capitalize each word of the hashtag. So as an example, in hashtag #AmherstProud, both Amherst and proud should be capitalized. This means that when the hashtags are read aloud via a screen reader, the two words will be read as separate words, making it clear what the hashtag is. Without capitalizing both words, the screen reader won't separate the two words, so it will attempt to read multiple words as one single word, which can be confusing.
Next, use emojis in moderation at the beginning or end of sentences. Every emoji is read aloud to a screen reader user. When you add multiple emojis to a post, say more than 2 emojis, it dilutes the user experience. As an example, in the don't scenario on the right, a screen reader would read this aloud as oncoming fist, oncoming fist, oncoming fist, let's go. It's even worse if you use an emoji with a skin tone. It would be oncoming fist, medium skin tone, oncoming fist, medium skin tone, oncoming fist, medium skin tone, let's go. You can see how this is repetitive and detracts from the main point of the caption. However, in the do scenario on the left, it would be read as let's go, oncoming fist. It's delivered in a much more effective manner where the central message isn't diluted by the use of emojis.
So the final point about accessibility that we want to make here is to avoid the use of images or graphics that have excessive copy on it. For instance, if you are making a statement and post an image with the full statement, you would need to put the full statement in the alt text also, which is something you really want to avoid, as you don't want your alt text to be too long. The same applies for event posters and flyers. If you have a really nice graphic with lots of information about the event on it, you'll need to convey that information in the alt text for that image to be accessible. If you want to put lots of information in the post, which many people do, try to avoid putting all that information into a graphic and instead put the bulk of the information in the post caption. Putting information in the graphic is still fine, just make sure it is not too excessive.
And that's it. So now you've made it through Social Media 101. Now that you have, we encourage you to register your social media account with us in the Office of Communications. We recently launched a new social media directory, which will serve eventually as a list of the college's official accounts. And this is a space where our community members and our prospective students can learn more about Amherst. But this directory will also offer other social media managers across the college direct access to each other in order to collaborate more closely and share platform updates, stay connected, distribute college news and information when appropriate, and more. So if you have any questions, curiosities, or anything at any time, please reach out to us via email or phone, or you can visit our website, amherst.edu/go/social for more information, or to submit a social media request form. Thanks so much for watching.